In the opening scenes, we are introduced to Wu Chun, who learns that he has inoperable brain cancer with no chance of survival. Despite this grim news, he tells his mother that he only has a minor ailment. Wu Chun is lost about what to do next and has no intention of telling his family the tragic truth. Meanwhile, he arranges for his family to meet him when he returns home. Switching perspectives, we see Wu Chun's family caught in the rain. A cafe owner invites them to take shelter, but the father insists they should head home. Back in the cafe's kitchen, the chef kills an animal, pleased that the earnings will help pay off debts. However, the creature bites him. Cut back to Wu Chun, who suddenly gets a nosebleed. A girl wipes it away, jokingly suggesting he must be having dirty thoughts. Wu Chun wishes he'd paid more attention to such signs earlier and regrets that his condition prevents a closer relationship with her. At this moment, a local bully named Lai Tian tells Wu Chun to get out of the way and shoves him. Another person, Qin Lai, stands up for Wu Chun. Frustrated by his poor health making him a constant target, Wu Chun glares at Lai Tian. This further angers Lai Tian, leading to another shove that breaks Wu Chun's phone. News reports announce multiple cases of people going insane after eating at a marketplace restaurant. Wu Chun's father is shown in the hospital, too, where the doctor reports that many such cases are appearing and that the patients are becoming violent. A crowd of angry relatives of the affected storms the restaurant, only to be met by a swarm of flies. They move further and to find the cafe owner feasting on a human. Meanwhile, Lai Tian is assaulting Wu Chun. The distraction causes a bus driver to hit a pedestrian. Taking advantage of Lai Tian's distraction, Wu Chun slaps him. Just as Lai Tian is about to retaliate, he spots a zombie outside the bus. The zombie attacks the bus driver, causing panic. Lai Tian jumps into the driver's seat, shuts the door, and speeds away. The zombie manages to cling onto the bus and even breaks the window to get inside, but Qin Lai draws a sword and kills it, then kicks it out of the bus. Everyone is panicking, and Wu Chun can't call his parents due to his broken phone. The bus finally arrives at its destination. A student walks toward a crowd inside a building, thinking they are people, but they turn out to be zombies, who immediately attack him and then go after the others. One zombie separates Wu Chun from Qin Lai, who fends them off with her sword. Wu Chun spots his car and inside finds a message from his father on another phone, urging him to run. He starts to cry, only to see his younger sister, Zayasin, who had been left in the car when everyone else had gone. As they embrace, a zombie tries to attack them, but Qin Lai quickly kills it. In the next scene, we see Wu Chun looking at Qin Lai with awe. They then sprint to a safe haven, making it just in time to shut the door behind them. Lai Tian declares that they're in a hopeless situation, and someone needs to distract the zombies or they'll all die, though he makes it clear he won't be the one to do it. Ultimately, he decides to take matters into his own hands, grabbing Zayasin, Wu Chun's sister. Wu Chun tries to save her, but Lai Tian easily pushes him aside. Qin Lai orders him to release the child. Lai Tian passes her to his henchmen and then engages in combat with Qin Lai using a pipe. As his minions drag the young girl toward the exit to feed her to the zombies, everyone stands in stunned silence. At this moment, Wu Chun reflects on his life and decides to take on the perilous task himself. Although Qin Lai tries to stop him, he reassures her, telling his sister that he is going to find their parents. He asks Qin Lai to look after Zayasin, hugs them both, and tells them he loves them before heading toward the exit. As he leaves, Lai Tian's parting glance betrays a newfound respect for him. Once Wu Chun is outside, Qin Lai throws him her sword, telling him it will be useful. Initially, he successfully fends off the zombies, but gradually his sword begins to bend and he starts to flee. At this moment, he thinks that if he encounters his zombified parents, he would be able to kill them. However, upon seeing his zombie father, he hesitates and gets bitten. His mother joins in, and he laments that he hadn't visited them earlier. Witnessing this, Qin Lai is horrified. The screen displays that this marks the end of the darkest day in China's history. Wu Chun has turned into a zombie and bites into the neck of a vulture, which had aimed to feast on him. He immediately spits it out and stands up, confused by his transformation. Now a mutated version of his former self, he tries to make sense of what has occurred. He rushes to check on Zayasin and Qin Lai and sees a plump zombie with Qin Lai's bandana in its teeth. In a fit of rage, he tears the zombie's head off after knocking out all its teeth with a kick. Another zombie bites his leg, but Wu Chun is unfazed and slices through a group of zombies climbing onto a cupboard. A familiar face recognizes him and whispers that he's a monster, just before getting bitten by another zombie. As his acquaintance is devoured, Wu Chun stares at his reflection, shocked that he has become what he had been trying to avoid. Inside, he mutters that he's not a monster, he can still think. At that moment, he's hit on the head with a pipe and blacks out. The group carried out the same procedure with the remaining zombies. The guy with white hair cautioned them not to go overboard, or it would be pointless. Afterward, they tied the incapacitated zombies to a vehicle and drove them away. Later, we saw a dream where Wu Chun woke up at home, as he once had. He went to the kitchen, found some delicious food, and began eating. Then his mother stormed in, screaming that he was a monster, and he saw a vision of himself eating his younger sister, which woke him up. People around him were shocked that he was alive. Wu Chun found himself in a bathtub over a flame, vegetables floating in the water. Glancing upwards, he saw zombies hanging from the ceiling. What on earth is happening? He wondered. Meanwhile, in a room resembling a gymnasium, the white-haired guy was tossed an inhaler. People were discontented, they used to get 5. A man in a lab coat claimed medicine was now scarce and demanded they bring in 20 zombies. The white-haired guy called him a liar. An altercation broke out between him and a scarred man, which the white-haired guy won quickly with a pipe blow. His men threatened him, but they were promptly doused in gasoline, and the white-haired guy lit a match. Just then, someone rushed in from the kitchen to announce a zombie was alive. Wu Chun entered, asking, "Are you in charge here?" The white-haired guy recognized him, dropped the match, but Wu Chun caught it mid-air. "Can you explain what's happening?" Wu Chun asked. Realizing he was no ordinary zombie, the white-haired guy tried hitting him with a pipe, but Wu Chun grabbed it and bent the metal with his hand. Astounded, the white-haired guy fell to his knees, pleading for mercy. They then began conversing. After Wu Chun explained his situation, the white-haired guy recounted his own romantic tale of sacrificing himself to save his lover and sister, speculating they must be alive or else would have become skeletons or zombies. Just then, one of the hanging zombies fell into the fire in the kitchen. People began salivating at the smell. Wu Chun sensed this and declared he would go find his family. The white-haired guy questioned how he could survive alone in the apocalypse and suggested they team up. Another guy found this odd, to which Wu Chun agreed, stating if there's mutual distrust, he'd rather leave. The white-haired guy then hit the intrusive man, stating that they could use the extra protection right now. As Wu Chun passed by the room where he had woken up, he saw people eating zombies. One of them approached him. At that moment, zombies broke into the gymnasium through the windows. Mo Zai killed one and ordered everyone to fight. Wu Chun defended himself against people who had eaten zombies and were now much stronger. One of the zombies tried to attack him from behind, but Mo Zai killed it. He then turned his gaze to the people who had eaten the zombies. When Wu Chun heard that they needed to leave, he was initially hesitant. However, the urgency was highlighted when a horde of zombies, along with his associates, trailed closely behind. Deciding to join forces with Mo Zai, the two bravely faced the encircling enemies. As the battle raged on, Wu Chun's power became evident as he fended off the zombies. But when he was on the brink of losing control, Mo Zai grabbed him, reminding him not to become like the creatures they were fighting. Deep down, Mo Zai knew that they couldn't afford for Wu Chun to lose himself. Regaining his composure, Wu Chun assured Mo Zai that he had control and requested to be let go. Yet, Mo Zai remained cautious. In a swift action, Wu Chun seized a zombie's head, smashing it against a wall with such force that it crumbled. Both of them tumbled down, leaving Mo Zai visibly shaken. Once outside, Wu Chun, thinking of his father, lit his last bottle of gasoline. The resulting inferno barricaded the zombies, buying them some time. Wu Chun urged everyone to leave while they had the chance. Mo Zai argued that together they stood a chance, but alone they were vulnerable. The two engaged in a heated exchange before Wu Chun unexpectedly hefted Mo Zai onto his shoulder, intending to get to their vehicle. However, upon reaching it, they found it ablaze. Furious, Mo Zai reprimanded one of his men, just as a familiar face, the doctor who had separated from the group earlier, emerged from the ground with an offer. Promising them a vehicle in exchange for protection, the doctor handed over a set of keys. Much to their dismay, it was for a tiny moped. As arguments erupted, Wu Chun began maneuvering a bus, instructing everyone to board. As they settled in, the doctor, impressed with Wu Chun's abilities, inquired about his origins. Mo Zai responded, stating they had a long journey ahead. Wu Chun, in turn, expressed his intent to find his sister, ensuring the group's safety in exchange. They drove on, eventually coming across a young man being pursued by zombies. In a twist, it was revealed to be a trap, with the zombies impaled and set ablaze by the man. Later, as the group shared a meal, a mysterious sound caught Wu Chun's attention. To their shock, they saw zombies nearby, but rather than attacking, they moved past them, heading straight for a village. The group, perplexed by the turn of events, braced themselves for whatever lay ahead. Wu Chun yelled for everyone to take their seats as he sprinted ahead, pulling a bus behind him to mow down the zombies in his path. Meanwhile, within the village, a feast was taking place. The village leader, Lai Tian, noticed that the entrance was not sealed and that zombies could potentially break in. Frustrated, he ordered a subordinate to close it immediately. His subordinate hesitated, saying it was dangerous, but Lai Tian threatened him with a crossbow, forcing him to comply. Unfortunately, the zombies managed to catch him, gaining access to the village. Chaos erupted as villagers began to flee. Xiao Min found herself trapped in a corner, calling out for her brother. Just then, Wu Chun arrived. He used the bus as a weapon to eliminate a horde of zombies. He assured the villagers they were safe, but when they saw he was a talking zombie, they were only more terrified. Those who had been on the bus voiced their complaints about his reckless driving. Wu Chun approached Xiao Min and extended his hand, but she didn't recognize him and begged him not to eat her. Wu Chun fell to his knees and apologized for having abandoned her. Eventually, Xiao Min recognized him, and they embraced. Wu Chun vowed never to leave her again. Mo Zai interrupted their reunion, pointing out that it was not the best time for it. Wu Chun then approached a man whose leg was trapped under a rock, but as he got closer, the man and others around him began transforming into zombies. "Run!" Wu Chun yelled as he started battling the mutant zombies. While he was busy doing so, the others took refuge inside a building. In the midst of this, one man punched Mozai, calling him a disgrace and accusing him of returning to destroy their family. Mozai retorted, "You rarely call us a family, father." From a room upstairs, Lai Tian was attempting to snipe Wu Chun, but he was too fast to be hit. At that moment, we see Chun, who accused Lai Tian of once forcing people to eat zombies, saying now they would eat him instead. Angered, Lai Tian threatened to amputate her other leg but then said he'd spare her if she did as he said. Seizing the opportunity, Chun grabbed the crossbow and declared she'd rather die than comply. She fired an arrow, which Wu Chun caught mid-air. Lai Tian recognized him and, grappling with how Wu Chun could have survived, grabbed Chun and dashed outside. Just as he was about to catch them, Wu Chun struck a nearby zombie instead of Lai Tian. Mozai had no interest in listening and almost slaughtered his father. But just then, the wall collapsed, and Wu Chun entered. Mozai retorted, "You think it's good for us to keep interfering with each other." Next, we're shown the memories of Qin Lai and how she lost her leg. In her flashback, she allowed herself to be bitten by a zombie to protect Wu Chun's sister. Lai Tian amputated her leg to prevent the infection from spreading. Later, Wu Chun found her on the ground, and when a zombie was about to bite her, he killed it swiftly. He said he heard her calling out, and she recognized him as well. They embraced. Watching this, Lai Tian commented on Wu Chun's foul and heavy fate, then tried to shoot him with a crossbow. But Wu Chun caught the arrow in midair. He flung the arrow back at Lai Tian, pinning him to the wall, accusing him of trying to kill him again after already condemning him to certain death. Then, Xiaoman appeared. Wu Chun asked if she had eaten zombie flesh, to which she responded that she had spat it out, just as he had once taught her. She revealed that she had seen her parents turn into zombies and wouldn't eat them for anything. Listening to this, Qin Lai accused Lai Tian of lying because he had promised not to harm the girl. Lai Tian laughed it off, saying he didn't understand why he had ever been in love with her. Mozai pulled out the arrow, declaring the villain would harm no one anymore. But one of Lai Tian's henchmen took the hit instead, vowing to handle it himself. Mozai was undeterred and continued to target his new opponent. People around them, including Mozai's father, began to shout at him. His father then picked up a pitchfork in an attempt to kill Mozai, but Wu Chun intervened, grabbing the pitchfork. Terrified, Mozai's father wet himself. Mozai laughed, got distracted, and a henchman managed to seize his arrow and tried to strike. However, Mozai hit him first and reclaimed the arrow, striking once more. Unexpectedly, a guy with red hair managed to attach dynamite to Mozai's hand, which exploded. Screaming in pain and clutching his leg, Mozai began striking the corpse while hurling insults. Wu Chun hugged him to calm him down. A doctor was called who assured them that miraculously, the bone was intact, just dislocated. They retreated to a shelter as zombies still surrounded them. Wu Chun smeared some of Lai Tian's henchmen with zombie blood, saying this would make them invisible to the undead. He then told everyone to get on the bus while they would distract the zombies using fireworks. He assured his sister that this time he would definitely return and, along with Lai Tian's men, ran ahead, clearing the way to the bus with fireworks. A group led by Mozai started boarding the bus, and as Lai Tian was getting on, Mozai grabbed him. In the meantime, Wu Chun's group arrived at the room where the explosives were stored. Just then, a zombie sneaked up on them. Frightened, one group member hurled a massive bomb, blowing up a wall. Miraculously, the zombie survived, and Wu Chun began to eliminate it. They then began grabbing fireworks, with Wu Chun seizing the largest one. Declaring that he would destroy them all, he set off a grand firework display towards the zombie horde. People in a bus watched the fireworks only to see a crowd of burning zombies running at them. However, ropes were then thrown around the zombies' necks, and more fireworks were launched at them. Mozai yelled for Wu Chun, asking him to catch him as he jumped from the second floor. However, in the process, he pulled Lai Tian with him, who fell on top of him. When Mozai questioned why Wu Chun didn't catch him, Wu Chun simply replied that he had changed his mind. Suddenly, rain began to pour, extinguishing the flames on the zombies. A group of frenzied people charged at the zombies, shouting, "Meat, meat." Wu Chun inquired of a doctor the reason for this madness, to which the doctor replied that one doesn't need to be bitten to be infected. He'd seen this many times before. 3 weeks post-apocalypse, the survivors were holed up in a hospital with food running out. When the doctor was about to eat a chocolate bar, a man took it and gave it to his pregnant wife, assuring everyone that he was fine and what mattered was that she ate. However, the doctor realized the man didn't have much time left. Soon, the man collapsed and frenziedly dashed out of their shelter. His wife followed, only to find him consuming a zombie and then turning to attack and eat her. While the doctor narrated this story, some tried to convince the others to stop consuming zombies. Mozai's mother pleaded with him to free his father. Mozai replied that 15 years ago, she had a chance to stop his father but didn't. He pushed her away and commanded that someone watch her. He then struck down a man and was about to kill his father but hesitated, recalling the traumatic events of 15 years prior. Wu Chun took matters into his own hands, seizing a stake and stabbing Mozai's father. He then ordered everyone onto the bus. Later, Wu Chun got the bus to a safe location, and everyone began to settle in a cave. Mozai stepped aside for a moment, and Wu Chun, noticing this, followed him. They then engaged in a dialogue, discussing various topics, including what it means to be special. Meanwhile, Lai Tian began working on his escape by using a hidden shard of glass. It was revealed that Mozai's father couldn't go through with the cruel act he'd intended due to shaky hands from drunkenness. As they spoke, Lai Tian managed to abduct Qin Lai and Xiaoman, commandeering a bus with his henchmen while the guards were asleep. In response, Mozai yelled and berated them. While Lai Tian and his crew were making their getaway, Wu Chun managed to catch up to them. The driver saw him and stopped the bus. Wu Chun burst through the window, knocking out a man who had been tormenting his sister. Lai Tian then took Qin Lai hostage. When asked why, he explained that he had been a spoiled child and destroys anything he can't have. While Lai Tian was busy talking, Qin Lai seized the opportunity to escape his grasp, toppling him in the process and declaring her newfound courage. They then returned to their original location. Mozai revealed the contents of a suitcase he had brought along. Apart from personal belongings, it contained an old radio broadcasting a message that a City B was available as a sanctuary for thousands of refugees. Unfortunately, the leader of City B turned out to be Lai Tian's father. Lai Tian smirked at Wu Chun, who punched him in response. Lai Tian then defiantly stated he'd rather die than live under Wu Chun's rule. Wu Chun grabbed him and slammed him into a wall, purposely aiming to the side multiple times. He explained that if Lai Tian thought death was easy, he was mistaken. It was long and agonizing. Wu Chun warned him to not expect mercy next time, then left with his sister and Qin. As he left, Lai Tian shouted to everyone, warning them about the dangerous person leading them. Mozai struck him, asserting his authority. Meanwhile, Wu Chun and Qin almost shared a kiss, but were interrupted by Xiaoman, who warned that Qin Lai could become a zombie. Mozai then arrived, advising Wu Chun to get his act together, starting with a haircut that became the subject of everyone's jokes. The scene shifts to a cave where one person had died due to refusing to eat zombie meat. A doctor revealed that the meat was addictive and the outcomes were either turning into a zombie or dying from withdrawal. Panic ensued as people began blaming one another. Mozai jokingly suggested splitting up, but Wu Chun asked if he could really abandon the survivors. Wu Chun then asked the doctor if there was a cure, to which the doctor suggested they need to eat regular meat. Wu Chun and Mozai went hunting, taking along Lai Tian and his henchmen. At one point, they stumbled upon a pile of gnawed bones.